Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Geek Blend and another episode of the Orville Quantum Dive with myself and Lost Jedi 22. We just finished season 1, episode 9, entitled Cupid's Dagger. I'm going to throw it to you, Greg, and give me your first thoughts after the episode ended.
I liked the episode. It was frivolous. It wasn't very science fiction-y. It was kind of a silly episode. But the comedy, I laughed probably more in this episode than any of the other episodes, probably all the other episodes combined. It worked for me. I liked it. Yeah,
me too. It was some of it was more than others, but it was a very kind of silly one-off episode. I did enjoy it, and a lot of laughs for me in this one too. I agree. I think I laughed more in this episode than I have in any of the episodes combined up until now. Everything worked. I mean, well, not everything. There was a few things that didn't work for me comedy-wise, but most everything did, and I enjoyed it. I was not expecting to once it got going and we kind of figure out what was happening. But then, yeah, it just worked for me. I enjoyed that one. Yeah.
It was pretty predictable. I mean, I was kind of calling out a number of things like, oh, this is going to happen by the end of the episode, or this is probably what it is. And for the most part, it's pretty dead on with those predictions. It was an opportunity for the characters to be a little bit silly, although there were some cringy moments. I'm just really, like, you felt embarrassed for the character almost, especially with Ed Mercer. Like, when he went into his, like, teenage lovesick thing for I forget the character's name, but the character played by Rob Lowe. There were some cringy parts of that because it was just like, oh man, I am embarrassed for you.
Yeah, the stuff with Seth MacFarlane, like you said, that little teenage love phase. Because I mean, so the episode basically is the admiral of orders the Orville to kind of act as like a diplomatic, like in between, to settle an age-old war, basically between the Navarrian and the Bruidians, and they both have this claim that they've colonized a planet. And so they have old artifacts. They're bringing in archaeologists to run tests on these artifacts to see what DNA is on the artifact. Is it going to be a Navarrian or a Bruidian? So it's kind of setting that up. And then we learn that the archaeologist is Derulio, which is who Kelly slept with when she cheated on Ed. And so that right there throws the whole awkward thing into it. I remember when we first get them leaving to go meet the archaeology ship, and then Alora is like, oh no. And he gets out of the ship, and it's the blue dude. It's Derulio, and played by Rob Lowe, by the way, which I thought he did a pretty good job in this role. But yeah, it was and then you learn that he's like every once a year, his species like emits like a pheromone. So basically anybody who he comes in physical contact with who touches him gets this over-sexualized pheromone, and then they kind of start to become this lovesick teenager. So you see like Dr. Claire Finn, Ed Mercer, Kelly Grayson, all three of them start to act like this. And then the whole thing with Dr. Finn and Yaphet.
Yep.
that was way over the top. But I thought it was hilarious because at the beginning he's like going to woo her. He's got flowers and he's trying to sing a song on his guitar, and she like basically tells him it's never, ever going to happen. And right as he leaves, you kind of see this little different look on her face for a second. And then you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they, of course, when you find out what's going on, you realize, but there are some weirdly interesting scenarios in the show.
Yeah, if you're a Next Generation fan, like the Naked Now episode where Data ends up with Tasha Yar, think about that, only the Doctor in a blob. It was funny. When Laura walks in on him, that was... that was pretty funny. She reacts like a teenager who just walked in on her parents.
With Alara, I loved how she kind of had to take a step up and be more of the like authority figure in this episode. Like when she ordered Yaphet to stay away from Dr. Finn, and she had to be the one to kind of keep the two, like the Navarrian and the Bruidians, from like going to war, trying to keep, because they kept asking to see Captain Mercer and Commander Kelly Grayson, because they were like, we need to, what's going on? Why is it taking so long to get this results, the DNA results for this artifact? And so she kind of had to be that adult in the room. And I think as the season's gone along, I've always liked her character, but I think this one kind of cemented for me that she's my second favorite character on the show.
I think Alara's winning me over a little bit. Like, Isaac isn't getting enough screen time at this point. He had that one episode, we got to see a little bit more of him. But yeah, and then this episode, Malloy and Lamar were kind of toned back. They were kind of a backseat character. Even Bordas, although he had some good lines. And in the beginning of the episode, it starts off with them doing karaoke. And it starts off with Kelly's doing like an 80s song. I forget which song it was. And then Bordas gets up next to do his song. And he's going to... You start hearing the music for Titanic, like he's going to sing My Heart Will Go On, the Celine Dion song. You're like, oh no. he's going to completely butcher this, but I kind of want to see it. And of course, they get called away, and they don't. We never get to see him sing that song. I was kind of hoping at the end of the episode they'd go back to it, but unfortunately they didn't.
Me too.
Because I thought that would have been funny to see.
I loved it when he first got the microphone and they all realized what song he's going to sing, and they start to cheer, and he's like, "Silence!" I love that, and I'm like, "Oh crap!" And I felt cheated. We didn't get to see him sing that song because we were both kind of like talking to during the episode, like, "Please do it at the very end."
And it set the tone for the episode, and it works when you do it on occasion. Like, I wouldn't want to see episodes like this happen very often, but it's a nice kind of change of pace. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And of course, you called it that the artifact, when they finally realized the DNA, it's the DNA from both species. So they both have claim to the planet. But to get the species to stop fighting, they used Rulio and his pheromones to get them to fall in love. That's how they get them to stop, which I thought was...
It was a little cringy, to be honest, for me. Because, I mean, these characters were like at each other's throats and very militaristic and everything, and then having them act all lovey-dovey, it was just kind of cringy and awkward. I didn't. Weird. Yeah, I saw it coming, but like I don't know if I liked it. I thought they played it up a little bit too much, but hey, whatever. It was certainly not a deal breaker for the episode. So
I also did like that we get a little bit more space battle stuff with the Navarian and Barudian fleets coming together and starting to like basically kill each other before this happens. And it was a small glimpse of what they could do on the show, and I think it looked pretty good. I like that. Yeah,
overall this show has had some pretty good ship design. Not just the Orville itself, but the alien ships. Pretty decent like space combat stuff. Nothing too over the top. There was just that one episode with that one spot with the meteor thing that was just a little off for me. But so far, I've thought that they've taken the special effects seriously. This was supposed to be a parody type show, but it's nice to see that they're making the effort to make it look good.
Yeah, and with the Navarian and the Barudian, and even with the Rulio, the makeup effects in this episode were really well done. It seems like you said, they just keep stepping that up, because we've commented on alien species designs in the past on these reviews, but they really seem to continually like upping their game with that, because I thought both the Barudian and Navarian design was really well done, and I thought it worked really well with those species.
Looked pretty cool.
Yeah, they did. They really did. And then the one character that was the karaoke MC who had like all these tentacles hanging off of his like chin in the beginning. Yeah, I thought that was a really good design too. Like, it worked really well.
Yeah, good creature design overall. They didn't do this show on the cheap, which is nice. That speaks a lot to like the effort and the passion behind the project.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode. There was a few things that were cringe, but other than that, the comedy landed really well. I wanted to say the guy they kept getting in the elevator with.
Oh, yes.
That worked for me pretty well, because they were either in a good mood or a bad mood. And he kept talking about like, let's try to get some music added to this. And he's like, when he first opened the door to the elevator, when they first saw him, he's like, "Oh, commander and first officer, I'm moving up in the world," or something like that. That was, I thought that all worked really well.
The comedy in this episode was probably it was the best that they've done so far. I don't want to see it in every single episode, but it worked for this one because it was kind of a less serious episode overall.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I wouldn't want to see this kind of comedy every single time, but yeah, it really worked. Even the callbacks did work, like you're saying. I did enjoy that. Overall, I really liked the episode. There was, like I said, a few things I didn't like, but I'm still looking forward to watching the next episode. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Orville Quantum Dive. We do appreciate it. This was a good episode. We really enjoyed it, both of us. And we will see you guys next week, where these will be out every Friday. If it doesn't come out on a Friday and we have something going on, it might be a Saturday, but it's going to be consistent on those. We're going to try to do them on Fridays. But if you're new to the channel and you like what you see here, we do appreciate you subscribing. Thank you guys very much for watching. We will see you guys next week for another episode of the Orville Quantum Dive. I'm Jeff, and thank you, Greg, for joining me once again. I appreciate it. This is the Geek Blend, and remember, if you guys geek about it, we'll speak about it. See you guys next week.